Hi, folks. I'm Brenda Paskey, and welcome to part 2 of my 4.5-part series, The Meaning of Mulholland Drive, David Lynch's masterpiece and the greatest movie ever made. So last time I talked about the colors and symbols of Mulholland Drive for an hour. I hope you were paying attention because I'm probably not going to repeat myself. And the first episode was about the Purple Dance, which was a representation of the birth of Diane and the death of her mother, Betty, in a terrible car accident on Mulholland Drive. Before I get into it, I do want to correct something. In the last episode, I said David Lynch was a Buddhist. He did not actually identify with any particular religion, as many of us do not, any organized religion, although he was spiritual. However, if you listen to him talk about his spirituality, he believed in reincarnation, he believed in essentially the bardo, he believed in karma, he did transcendental meditation. It's very Buddhist adjacent, or maybe Hindu, with the hand gestures I see in the movie. So if you understand Hinduism or Buddhism to some extent, you'll have an easier time with this movie. I do wonder if he meant it as a guidebook to the rest of us. He truly believed we would go through this, we would die, linger about our death place for a while, and then go on to the bardo to deal with our lives before moving on to the next life. So, if you remember the headlights of a truck coming at you and suddenly you're descending into Los Angeles, wondering how you got there, you might think about this movie and go, oh, perhaps I'm dead. And maybe I should think about my karma now. So that is a speculation. I'm going to go through the entire reality section in this episode, which starts with the red sheets and ends in Diane's suicide. It covers maybe about a week of time because things happened very fast after Aunt Ruth was murdered. So in my prior episodes, I talked about some of David Lynch's 10 clues and gave answers to number 1, 3, 4, and 10. This time I will talk about number 2, the red lampshade, number 6, the robe, the ashtray, and the coffee cup, and number 8, did talent alone help Camilla? In addition, all the red ones here, the mysteries of Mulholland Drive, should have answers by the end of this episode. So David Lynch worked with subliminals, as do I. For instance, this shirt represents not my anger at the inherent sexism of society, but Diane's state of mind. She presented as a sweet little fluffy kitten, but in actuality, she had enough anger in her to destroy cities. And in the end, she destroyed almost everyone about her. And she had some legitimate grievances, as we will see, but basically she was a professional victim and everything was somebody else's fault. So I'm just going to run over a quick refresher on the order of events in reality. I've moved all of reality together in a chronological order where it belongs. The Purple Dance was events very far in the past where Diane's mom, Betty, died in a horrible car accident, followed by Aunt Ruth and the red sheets. She died and was discovered by the cowboy. Then there's 5 events or situations that happen, and one is out of sequence. We can kind of decode the flashbacks, but this particular thing, Diane is trying to hide what she did. So first, it's concerned neighbor DeRosa coming over to check up on Diane. That's followed by Camilla on the green couch. All those scenes took place within a day. They are out of order. They happened after the party. Then there's the rehearsal where Camilla and Adam are flirting, but that is where we find out Diane is in danger. And then there's the red lamp, and I'll talk a lot about that later. Followed by the party where there's just a bunch of things going on that we didn't realize. and then the hitman and the aftermath culminating in Diane's suicide. So I'm going to show you very briefly a screenshot of the gruesome rotting corpse so we can determine that it is indeed Aunt Ruth and neither Camilla nor Diane. So there are 4 things in that shot that tells us that it is Aunt Ruth. Number 1, that woman has not been shot. Aunt Ruth was killed by some kind of drug overdose or hot shot by Luigi. And I'll explain that later. Number 2, she wears the white bracelet that identifies Aunt Ruth. Number 3, she has rather longish, limp hair that does not resemble either Camilla or Diane, and the color is kind of unable to determine. She is wearing black tap pants, similar to somebody else in the Bardo section. If you're wondering what tap pants are, these are tap pants paired with a camisole. We saw tap pants on another character in the afterlife scenes, paired with the limp hair and the white bracelet. We will notice that the mattress is kind of torn up. In the script, it says from shotgun blasts, but I think somebody was digging some money out of there and, hoping nobody knew where that money came from. So Aunt Ruth, for all her faults, was the only mother Diane had ever known, and she, as I said, had a lot of rage in her. She knew Luigi did it, and she was not going to let it go. And perhaps that's why the detectives were looking for her to talk to her some more about the incident. The cowboy discovers the body of Aunt Ruth in an unnerving sequence. The blue walls tell us this is at Sierra Bonita. Then he sees what he didn't expect and leaves. I opened the door expecting to see the woman alive, did a double take and realized she was dead and left. That doesn't seem very brave, Mr. Cowboy. I hope you do better next time. That is one continuous incident. Aunt Ruth had some sort of drug overdose engineered by Luigi. She fell into bed, died, and was not discovered for quite a while. And after the cowboy found her, it had to be Diane that did and reported it. I'm going to say a couple words about the cowboy right here. The cowboy is a force for good. He is a real person doing real cowboy things. I thought at first he was just maybe a doll because he's so stiff in the way he talks. I thought maybe Diane whispered her secrets to him. I did not find him creepily sexual like some people did, but he is a little creepy and sexual, and he hides a terrible secret. So everything after the red sheets in the reality section is from Diane's point of view. We go where she goes, we see only what she sees, we see only her perspective, and she likes to remember things her way that makes her look the best. And she moved around a few incidents to make herself look better, as we will see. Diane awakes reluctantly to a series of knocks. She pulls herself together and goes to answer the door. This opening scene in reality has a lot more going on than you maybe realized. When Diane wakes up, she kind of comes to herself and she looks over into the corner of the room by the door where she sees something that she kind of doesn't like. What could it be? Yeah, it's the golf club. It's in her room. What's it doing there? She gets up and she leaves to answer the door, And we hear just this very soft sound, something sliding down the door. And then she answers the door. So before we dive deeper into this scene, let's just take a look at Diane's blue box of an apartment. There's a couple things I want you to notice. The moving boxes. I originally thought these might be actually Aunt Ruth's stuff from her apartment, but now I do think it is Diane's moving in from apartment 12. We have these two white candlesticks left behind, similar, but not the same. Over here, we have a blue mop sticking out from the refrigerator, like Diane has been cleaning up after moving, or maybe cleaning up a crime scene. And then we have a green couch. And we will see that green couch again in Mr. Roke's office or lair, and it's a direct clue to the identity of Mr. Roke. I'm going to talk a little about that miserable hovel that Diane is living in. I live in LA, so I know that that is actually a charming 2-bedroom, 1-bath garden bungalow in a very nice area of North Hollywood. That is like $4,000 a month. Aunt Ruth is in the apartment next door. That's $8,000 a month. Who's paying for that? Or is that apartment complex owned by someone who needs to do them a favor? So Diane and Aunt Ruth may be getting free rent, but there doesn't seem to be a lot of money beyond that. Like whoever is giving them that thinks that's plenty good. Maybe Diane, you should get a job. And we will see evidence of that later. Diane's clothes are kind of ratty. Her appliances are pretty old. It seems clear that Aunt Ruth is the one who bought her the bed and the red sheets and the green blanket because they are so much like Aunt Ruth's. They were purchased at the same time. People on mulhollanddrive.net got pictures and lightened them up, and you can see the two beds are slightly different. They are similar, but not the same. Okay, I'm going to drop quite a few bombshells during this half-hour or so presentation, and here is the first one. Diane goes to answer the door, sees who's there, and immediately slams shut the little window. Oh no, it's the twin sister of the woman I had murdered. DeRosa is Camilla's twin sister? Well, yes, she is. There's been every explanation given for why they resemble each other so much. The dark hair, the slender figure. DeRosa is not actually ugly. She's got kind of big eyes. You know, if she put on some makeup, she'd probably look pretty good. But the most telling thing is that they have the same last name, and it is on the tenant board. So here is the tenant board for the West Courtyard, and I believe West refers to Wicked Witch of the West, what with the Winkies and the green color involved. But at apartment 12, we have D. Selwyn, 16, A. Gonzalez, that is Aunt Ruth, and 17 is L. J. DeRosa. There are two initials there. A J and an L. DeRosa used to live in number 17. So J is probably Juana. I call her that because I almost hear Diane call her that at one point, but it could be any name starting with a J. We know who L. DeRosa is. It's Lorena DeRosa. And we know her name was Lorena because Adam calls her that in the afterlife. And we kind of didn't notice. She was representing two people in that scene, but it's not that hard to untangle once you understand that Adam had one wife. His first wife, his last wife, his only wife, and that was Lorena DeRosa, or Camilla Rhodes, as she anglicized her name. Rhodes means of roses. DeRosa means roses. They're DeRosa's orphans, his children. And that means that Coco is Camilla's aunt. And she did not, in fact, get by on talent alone. She had a powerful aunt to help her out with her talents. And the implication is an implication that would never be given to Adam. Did Adam make it on talent alone? No, he's given the benefit of the doubt, but Camilla's kind of, easy to get along with. So the rumors are that she slept her way to the top, but she didn't. Somebody was pulling the strings. Coco is her aunt. I know that's shocking, but think about it. So the twins' mother was Margarita Louisa, and she perished in that terrible crash on Mulholland Drive. In the afterlife, Camilla names herself Rita after her mother, just like Diane named herself after Betty, her mother. And there are two other characters in this who name themselves after their mother. One is Nikki and one is Louise Bonner. Diane opens the door to admit her concerned neighbor, DeRosa, who surely has the worst haircut of all time. DeRosa says it has been 3 weeks since some event, and she is here to pick up her stuff. What was the event? Most people think it was the move, but I believe it was the discovery of the body of Aunt Ruth. DeRosa picks up her stuff and kind of eyeballs the entire apartment surreptitiously. She's looking for something. Could it be the golf club? After DeRosa leaves, Diane heads to her coffee maker, and you'll see the blue mop is still there. So I'm holding this white bowl and pretending to look puzzled because I told you in my last episode what white means, and I don't quite get why she's wearing it. You should think about it. So all the bathrobes are important. All the coffee cups are important. All the ashtrays are important in this movie, which makes decoding that one clue a bit difficult. There's at least 4 important bathrobes, and this is one. All the coffee cups are indicating how much future that character has left. The ashtrays are a symbol of whose lives you have ruined and extinguished. Just to let you know, there's going to be no naked lesbian scenes in this episode because it makes me uncomfortable. So now we come to a series of scenes I call Camilla on the couch. They all occurred on the same day. They all occurred in a different order than what is presented. And they all occurred in apartment 17, which means they happened after the party. But Diane is trying to disguise that because it makes her look bad. She put the hit out on Camilla after being sexually rejected. And if you look at this, the mop has disappeared from the refrigerator. It is a different day. It is earlier. Diane sees Camilla looking beautiful and luminous in her kitchen, wearing the clothes that she was wearing when last she saw her, which was on the green couch. And she remembers then in the horror in her face of what she found behind Winky's. So we know Camilla is not really there. Camilla is dead. We saw the blue key. So that means what we are seeing is Diane's thoughts in cinematic shorthand. And we have to look out for that in later scenes. So if we look at what's on the table here in Diane's apartment, we have 2 yellow tulips. Diane does not strike me as the type who goes skipping around clipping flowers. Camilla brought those over. She knew Diane was upset after the party, and those yellow flowers mean friendship, and she's trying to say, we can still be friends. Down there is the piano ashtray of DeRosa's. It is pristine. This is a glass, I assumed whiskey, due to Diane's general air of dissipation, but actually I think now it is Coke because that ties back to some other scenes, and she put it there for Camilla. And here is a blonde vase. I'll talk about that a little later. But it does not go well. They have a fight when Camilla rejects Diane. And I feel like, since this is from Diane's point of view, maybe what Camilla was actually saying, not we can't do this anymore, but we can't do this particular thing anymore because it hurts and it's dangerous. There are several characters in reality who are not really there in the usual sense of the word. They are Diane's thoughts made manifest, so we can see what she is thinking about. Immediately, Camilla appearing in the kitchen, we know she's not real because we know she's dead. At the party, there are 3 people who are not really there. That would be the cowboy, blonde Camilla, and Luigi. Then at Winky's, eyebrow man is not really there. It's not as obvious with him, but nobody else sees or interacts with him. And then finally, the oldsters who crawl under the door and chase Diane. They are her guilt. So alone in the apartment, Diane is on the couch, going in and out of focus, and suddenly she sees it. What DeRosa has been knocking on the door for, what Camilla wants to come over for, it's here. It is the golf club. She found where DeRosa hid it, the murder weapon that will condemn her sister to prison. Now she thinks she has something to hold over Camilla, and so when she calls, she's ready to push her point. There's the green fan, and it's echoed here at Winky's in this one green stone. Kind of interesting. There's also a palm tree reflected on the Winky sign, and palms are a sign of victory. So we have a rather pivotal scene here that is supposed to be about Diane's jealousy, but has a lot more to tell us. It's set in a car. They're dusting off the car for, fingerprints possibly. But here it's Juan DeRosa. He has been reborn, it looks like almost immediately after his death, so perhaps he was sufficiently regretful because he is now starring in a movie. But he just can't seem to get the right magic with his co-star because that is his daughter. He just cannot manufacture the right feelings, so Adam hops in there to help him out. But if you look at him, he's wearing the exact same clothes and hairstyle as in the Purple Dance. He's just added a brown jacket. So at the rehearsal, Diane is on the set. You can see her through the glass window of the windshield, through a glass wall. And I've spoken about this scene before, but over there is Luigi's henchman. You can't even see his face. He's faceless, and he's coming straight for her with a roll of masking tape. She's in danger of dying, and Camilla realizes it and gets Adam to let her stay. So Diane approaches the car where Adam and Camilla are, wringing her gloves like a pitiful little orphan. A sign on the set, part of it is in shadow. It looks like it says repay. Camilla gives her a teasing look. She is not trying to torture Diane. She's trying to help her in the only way she knows how. It's like, tee-hee, tee-hee. It's so easy. Use your youth. Use your beauty. Just pull on the little lever and it will all be yours. Fame, roles, money. But Diane cannot accept that message. She hates all men ever since her experience with her horrible dad. So clue number 2, the red lamp. A lot of energy has gone into trying to figure out where that red lamp is. Is it in Diane's apartment, like around the corner where we can't see it? Is it in Wilkins' apartment where there is a red lamp? We see it once in reality and then in quasi-reality. Well, that is one continuous scene, and it will give you a clue as to who Mr. Roke is.
Bullet hole.
Yes, I said bullet hole. That means this scene is not in reality. Diane is already dead. I lightened this screen up a lot, but there it is to the left of the red lamp. A bullet hole. Diane emerges from the shadows where she has been waiting. She stands exactly where her body lay after she killed herself. The light falls on the wall where the windows used to be, but there's no outside anymore. She is trapped here, alone with her guilt, until she answers the phone call from the afterlife. And in the ashtray, the 8 lives she has extinguished. So if we look at the ashtray, we can see that there are 8 cigarette butts. 2 of them almost all smoked up, 4 of them kind of halfway smoked, and then 2 of them hardly touched at all. And of those 2, one has red lipstick stains, which surely must remind us of someone. So yes, the phone call is real. Everything in quasi-reality reflects reality, but David Lynch only showed us quasi-reality in this case. So now we come to the iconic ride up Mulholland Drive in the limo. And the first thing you will notice is that there are 2 people in the front of that limo, which is kind of unusual if you've ever ridden in a limo. But there are definitely 2. We can barely see the one in front of Diane, but they get out and open the door for her while the other driver has his hand across the back of the seat. So it can't be him who opened the door. And it just seemed a minor detail to me, although, one wonders who was that person. It doesn't make sense in Diane's narrative. And then I had a dream. David Lynch is driving us up Mulholland Drive. I'm sitting where Diane sits, and the person in the front seat turns around and smiles at me. It's Camilla. Yeah, it's Camilla. Look at that phone in the limo. The phone call was coming from inside the vehicle. Camilla came down by herself in that car to convince Diane to come to that party because it was very important that she attend. So there is the phone placed prominently in the shot with that light behind it to draw attention to it. Diane doesn't want us to know that actually Camilla was with her every step of the way and helped her out here. If you look at her dress, it is a size too big for her. That is not her dress. It's red and black. It's Camilla's dress. And that necklace is much nicer than anything we could expect Diane to have. So Camilla runs up the hill to make sure the coast is clear. She comes down to get Diane, leads her past these 2 stone pillars and up the hill. And if you look at her, she's not looking at her feet. She's going up a hill in the dark in high heels. She's looking around. She's looking at Diane. She's looking for trouble. She's looking for Luigi's hitmen. Diane is completely oblivious. She's going to get her up there. She's going to get her to the family table, and she will be accepted as part of the family. She is going to save Diane. So let's just stop here at the top of the walk up the hill and take a look at what David Lynch is showing us. The first thing that you would barely notice, even if you saw it in a theater, there you go. Diane is wearing beige shoes to a very fancy dinner party. Who on earth would do that? Well, those are the only shoes she's got. They're inappropriate, but she has no choice. This is a very important dinner, and she must look her best, but she is stuck with those shoes because Camilla's feet are much bigger than hers. We see various people that we will see at the party, and here's this tall, rather slender black fellow who resembles Death from the other scenes, and he is behind a glass wall. And over here are two generic guys in suits, the waiter, and this woman. She is very nicely dressed, a cute, sexy outfit, long, dark hair. So my Camilla the Killer theory is supported in the making of Mulholland Drive. David Lynch instructs Laura Herring that in coming up the hill, it's all on her. She has to do this thing. And when the cast notices they are being filmed by the documentarian, they all make shushing sounds and cut. Continuing on, Camilla is wearing the long red scarf of a strangler as the blue box of a pool awaits its victim. Death gestures over here at a blue ridged box where Luigi's body is hidden. Adam appears with 3 glasses of wine. The blue reflection of the pool points straight at him, and the painting that represents the debt his family owes to Diane looms over the entire scene to the left. He's scrupulously polite. He welcomes Diane without a word of reproach. Camilla and Adam gaze into each other's eyes for an uncomfortable amount of time. They toast to love. Diane gathers herself and adds her own toast, but Camilla does not drink to it. Notice the sparkles behind Diane's head, and it's all spikes behind Camilla. Coco comes out with a disapproving look and forces an introduction to Diane. So does anybody believe, though, that they don't know each other? It's also stagey. But where did they meet? They met at the funeral of Aunt Ruth. So let me describe the scene in order to further convince you. A frightened girl is led by her friend past 2 stone pillars and greenery while wearing inappropriate shoes and clothes that are not hers. They encounter a disapproving person and then discover a dead body. So that was exactly that scene, except without the dead body. But it also exactly describes what went on in the walk around Sierra Bonita before they discovered Aunt Ruth's body, because everything in quasi-reality is just a reflection of reality. Okay, let's take a look at Camilla's makeup here. She looks a lot like Coco, only much younger, of course. I've heard of Marrying Your Mother, but this is kind of ridiculous. We'll soon see Coco busting her son's nuts in his own house, and Camilla, I think, is going to rule things as well. But the other thing is that her makeup is quite heavy, like she's trying to hide something. And there's a dark area on her left cheekbone that is a bruise that she is hiding. She flips her hair over it occasionally, but it is definitely there. You can actually see it in the making of Mulholland Drive. There's an area where they've darkened it. She was in a fight. And it's still there when she goes and visits Diane. Deserves some mention too. I see some possible bruises around the mouth, but that might just be the ravages of age. But she wears the winged eyeliner of a dancer and the blush high on the cheekbones like they wear on stage. Coco is a dancer just like Ann Miller. Just as the five of them go into dinner, yes, I said five, who will all be dead within the week, by the way. Camilla gives Diane this sort of teasing look. It's kind of similar to this look. What could it mean? I think Camilla is sending her a message, but Diane is not getting it. So as they go into the party, we see the long-haired woman one last time. Here she is, and almost directly facing Camilla. And we don't see her again because she left the party early. So who is she? She's DeRosa. DeRosa? She looks nothing like DeRosa. Well, actually, that's just the inherent sexism of society talking, because she is young, dark-haired, slender. But what event could cause an attractive young woman to chop off her hair, dress like a 12-year-old boy, change her apartment, and install a new deadbolt on that new door? Yeah, new deadbolt. Yep, there it is. It's obviously brand new because the old lock is right here. I have absolutely pored over this scene to figure out who was where and what's going on. We have 2 tables of 10, 5 on each side, and there's 4 empty chairs. There's 2 empty chairs kind of behind Adam and Camilla. And then there's 2 chairs to the left of this woman that are also empty. It's the family table, so DeRosa and Luigi would have been sitting there. So we saw Luigi later, but he's not really there. Diana's just thinking of him. Blonde Camilla, she's not really there. Diana's thinking about her. The cowboy, also not really there. Coco is thinking about him. So here are the people. There's this black guy who made the gesture, and he will sit here next to the woman with red hair. And there's a lot of redheads and blondes here, so we cannot be mistaken that DeRosa is not here. At the end is one of the 3 generic tall young guys. There's the blonde lady that ends up between Adam and Camilla. Here's her table companion, and he will sit over there. Then we have Wilkins, Diane, and this sort of redhead woman. A black lady over here, Adam, Camilla, Coco, and Coco's companion. So that is 16 at dinner, and 16, as we know, is the number of multiple deaths. With a loud drum roll, the parade of lies begins.
I'm from Deep River, Ontario. A small town.
So, Deep River, Ontario. Well, we know from Blue Velvet, Deep River is an apartment building. It is not a city. And what is out there over by Pomona, where the buses don't run? It's Ontario. Deep River, Ontario, where if you roll in from somewhere, you're driving, you're not flying. Diane is a liar. She lies about almost everything, and Camilla tells the truth. Keep that in mind as you watch this movie. Diane trots out her little story of wide-eyed innocence. Wait a minute, what the heck was that? What's with the sticky outy pinky? We've seen it before. Yeah, in quasi-reality. Yeah. So Coco and Luigi learn their manners in the same family. That's because they are brother and sister. Luigi is Camilla's uncle. Luigi is Adam's uncle, and that's why they got so far in life. They had a little head start. DeRosa had the same head start, but not the same talent, so she didn't go as far. And that means Camilla and Adam are cousins, and that might explain Coco's disapproval of the union. It's not illegal in California, by the way. Coco listens attentively. Acting is reacting. Borrowed necklace of 5 blood jewels. Diane tells the story of her life. It's all lies. She says her aunt worked in the movie. Everyone knows she didn't. That was not her job. Camilla bums a cigarette off Adam. Wilkins mentions how great Camilla is, and we all wish Wilkins would just shut up. He's always saying things he shouldn't. There's a brief discussion in Spanish. Adam knows enough Spanish to know what's going on, and he calls Camilla Camila. We can assume he also knows French from his mother. Talk about why it's so important to know the translations of all the foreign phrases in this movie. Camilla says, I never went to the White House with Luigi. And somebody, who I believe is Wilkins, says, oh, what a shame. And Adam says, no way, no big deal. So, what is the White House? We only have 3 residents in this movie. We have Havenhurst, which is white, but is not a house. We have Mulholland, which is a house, but is gray. And then we have Sierra Bonita, which is white and is also a house because it is a bungalow. And in fact, Camilla, when she called Diane, she said, the car is outside your house. That was our clue. So the White House was Aunt Ruth's apartment 16. And normally one would think Camilla is lying, but we know Camilla always tells the truth. So she did not go to the White House for an abortion with Luigi. Information to know what it is that Aunt Ruth does. Aunt Ruth is an abortionist. She takes care of all the little problems that arise from young actresses on the set. We see her walking off to hell, wearing her white bracelet, carrying her medical bag, which is the badge of her profession, and with the scarf around her neck indicating she is a strangler, and that's how she gets rid of the unwanted children. And that's why Diane doesn't like talking about her, and that's why Luigi killed her, and that's why she has thousands of dollars stuffed in her mattress. So let's talk about Adam's first wife. Not that Adam, the original Adam, the one Adam is named for. And he was married to red-headed Lilith. Lilith rebelled against the rule of men. She was disobedient. The angels said they would kill all her children, to which she responded, I will kill children everywhere. And so Adam is married to Lilith, metaphorically. Any woman that aborted his child is a Lilith. Adam chuckles smugly as he tells a story about his first wife and a judge. He makes an odd remark about a Rolls Royce. Blonde Camilla suddenly appears at the end of a cigarette. From across the room, Luigi glowers at Diane. Camilla's hair partially obscures him to the left. Diane lowers her eyes, abashed, as she thinks about what she has done. She manipulated everybody. So that remark of Adam's seemed a little crass. I'm going to look up Rolls Royce in my little book of vintage slang. The judge was a woman, and that's all I'm going to say. I'll just point out here that when Luigi appears, he appears across the room from Diane because this silver decorative thing that's going through his head like a bullet or something is not on the side of the table that Diane is. Furthermore, he's a head above the rest because if you watch the party scene, everyone else's head falls below that line. Oh, look, here's another person that has that silver line going through their head. I wonder if it's a coincidence. So at this point, I would say both Camilla and Diane are great actresses. Camilla just murdered her uncle, raced off to save her friend, calmly brought her up the hill to seat her at the family table and make it clear this woman is not to be touched. As for Diane, she's convinced everyone she's a sweet little dewdrop from Deep River, Ontario. And in spite of the looks she thinks are going on between people at the table, I think she was convincing. I was convinced the first time I saw this movie. I didn't see her inappropriate shoes. I didn't notice her dress was kind of hanging off her because she is much smaller than that dress. When she said she was a dancer, I believed it. She's skinny and crazy. So yeah, she's a dancer, and probably Aunt Ruth had a few things to teach her. But now she's at the family table, so let's take a look. Now a very pretty, fresh, blonde young woman comes into the party and kisses Camilla. And there is a transfer of lipstick. So Diane sees this as sexual, but I question whether it was or whether Camilla would do that in front of a bunch of partygoers. So this is from the making of Mulholland Drive. I kind of got a flash of it when blonde Camilla left the room, but I just confirmed it. She has these long trailing streamers coming off the back of her gown. And there's a reason for that. And it relates to who she is. So who is she? Why does she have the same name as Camilla? Well, once you know the secret, it's pretty obvious. And it's only the inherent sexism of society that keeps you from seeing the truth. I guarantee if Adam had walked into that boardroom, slapped down a picture of a blonde kid with glasses and said, "This is my boy," you'd know exactly who that kid was. You wouldn't even need the suffix. Yep, she is Camilla Rhodes' daughter. A kiss between family members is not at all unusual in European society, but Diane had such a horrible childhood that she can't see it as anything but sexual. She can't feel anything but jealousy. Hands in pockets. The cowboy literally leaps from Coco's head. So I'll lay it out for you. Diane was making trouble for Luigi over Aunt Ruth. Aunt Ruth was the only mother she had ever known. She was not going to let it go. She was testifying to the police. She was trying to take Luigi down. And then there was an attempt on her life on the movie set, which Camilla barely saved her from. So Coco and Camilla talked it over, and it's Diane or Luigi. And they decided Luigi must go. He's the raping bastard after all. So Coco called upon the cowboy, and he came through. He and Camilla strangled Luigi with the golf club. Just before the party, they hid his body in the blue box, and that crash you heard was a waiter discovering the body with the horrible distorted face behind that glass wall. So as soon as Diane realized this, she tore down the hill because she knew DeRosa had left with that golf club. And if she got that golf club, she'd have something to hold over Camilla forever. So there's a trail. It's possible. There's a trail from the top of Mulholland Drive down almost to Sierra Bonita. It's about 1.5 miles long. You could do it in high heels, maybe on a moonlit night. But she got down there, and then she called Joe. She called Joe to retrieve that golf club. So Joe goes over there, breaks in, but in his usual screwed up way, he doesn't manage to do what he's been told to do. And instead, he rapes DeRosa, and he leaves without the golf club. So Diane walks in. If you remember the scene at Havenhurst when she walks into the bedroom and she sees that dress on the floor, and I don't know of a woman who didn't immediately think someone got raped. And that is the scene that happened at Sierra Bonita. She goes in there, she convinces DeRosa to switch apartments, she's helpful. She knows the golf club never left number 17 because she helped the move. So it's somewhere in that apartment, and she's searching and searching for it, but she cannot find it. So here, if you're wondering, is a map of Runyon Canyon Trail. It goes from the top of Mulholland down almost all the way to Sierra Bonita and Franklin. The young people go check each other out. It's a very popular hiking trail, although you will find parking is a bit difficult at the top. And if Diane lived on Sierra Bonita, she would be very familiar with this trail. Laughing delightedly, Camilla and Adam make their announcement. We never hear what they are announcing because a huge crash interrupts. Diane sheds a single tear. The only tear we see her shed in reality. It's a tear for herself. We get to the climax, the moment Diane sold her soul. Camilla and I are going to be...
Sorry about that.
Yeah, real sorry. Yeah, Betty, like your mom. What would your mom think? So there's a couple of things to talk about in this shot. One would be the black book. Originally, I thought David Lynch was misdirecting us and Diane had actually stolen it for him. But now I think Joe did take it. Joe is wearing the green of Mr. Roque with the bird-like emblem. He's also wearing a pale blue overshirt, which kind of resembles Heavyset Woman's, a suggestion that he will dress in the clothes of his victim. About that black book, the history of the world in phone numbers. It was puzzling, but then I realized it's names, it's numbers, it's history, and I have a white book just like that. Yeah. Joe stole her DNA. He stole DeRosa's DNA. Think about it. So what is it that Diane is wearing here? She's got on a white shirt with a bird emblem. Why is Diane wearing the color of the Castiglionis all of a sudden? Well, you saw the party. She's now part of the family. So she was given her status, but she doesn't seem to appreciate it. She then tells Joe She wants Camilla murdered more than anything in the world. She's given her chance. She's given what she has always said she wanted. Instead, she goes for the murder. In this scene, as the camera goes back and forth between Joe and Diane, David Lynch is showing us how alike they are, how they both are killers. Just look at them, blonde, blue-eyed, kind of ratty looking, skinny. They're brother and sister. That's how she knows a hitman. Yeah, Joe is her brother, her older brother. Billy is her younger stepbrother. If you'd gone ahead and read The Legend of Beatrice Cenci, you would have known she had an older brother and a younger stepbrother. And because of that, that means that Joe is one of DeRosa's orphans, and that's why he's wearing blue. So Joe has killed for her before. He and Billy and the stepmother took out their dad, and he is their dad, not just their stepdad. The kids went to the uncle, like Camilla and DeRosa went to their uncle, and to be raised in an unpleasant environment. Joe presents the blue key. Did you hear the roar of the bull? Because I did not until I just listened and did not watch.
More than anything in this world.
When it's finished, you'll find this.
So, what was that? I'll tell you what it was. It was a grave digging machine going across in the background. Take another look.
When it's finished, you'll find this where I told you.
Yep, folks, that is a grave digging machine. I confirmed it the last time I was hanging out at the graveyard. There it is. It's a backhoe hauler or something like that. And not only that, it is a Taurus backhoe. And it is used for digging graves, and they both have just dug their own graves. Then she sees this guy who is not really there. He represents her potential future, if only she acted normal. What's it open? The next words are silencio. Did you notice the glass wall around the cash register? Oh my God, I figured out what the glass wall is. I'll tell you next time. But what is he looking at? What is her future looking at reproachfully? So what was Eyebrow Man staring at over by the cash register? It was this stuffed animal and that red and white heart handshake tag. So what is that animal? Yeah, pretty sure it is a bull. It is a little stuffed bull. Diane finds the blue key at the payphone where Joe left it. Remember, all of reality is from her point of view. She goes behind Winky's where she sees it. She sees the bum. The bum is on fire. It's a horrible sight. And did you see there are 2 shopping carts there? Joe killed more than one person. I see the white hat of the cowboy in the other. The bum drops the paper bag containing the blue box, and it looks like a tab from a Coke can. The 2 old people emerge as the scene flashes the red of guilt. She stares at the blue key. Her future is gone. That coffee cup is empty. The only hope I see for her is this empty blonde vase in front of her. I think it symbolizes that she was not pregnant when she killed herself, so she has not incurred even more debt. She's found the blue key. She knows what she did. It's unforgivable. There's knocking at the door. It's for her this time. And the two old people crawl under like cockroaches. She hears the laughter of children. And then the screaming of DeRosa. She just found out her sister and her unborn niece are dead. The two old people, they're not her grandparents. I remember reading on mulhollanddrive.net that they obviously were not real. No person is able to slide under a door. They're not that small, and then they get big and scary. And then I thought, well, actually, there are people like that. It's us. It's all of us. We start out tiny and wrinkly, and then we go through life and we get bigger, and then we become at least partially evil and bad and threatening. When Diane reaches into her bedroom drawer for the gun, we see the blue box she stole from Camilla with the pearls that were inside. So is there still hope for Diane? I will just leave you with these lyrics from Anthem by the great Leonard Cohen. Ring the bells that still can ring. Forget your perfect offering. There is a crack in everything. That's how the light gets in.